I often sit and think about where we're going to go and what the future holds with the way that the direction Islam's taking, the radicals taking over and hijacking that religion, the lack of the inaction of Muslims generally. We've seen all the comments on the internet supporting the actions of the Paris terrorists, and we see it time and again. It was the same thing after Lee Rigby. You've got groups like the Muslim Defence League that are advocating and supporting these actions. It's unfortunately due to they have their excuses due to the fact that George Bush and Tony Blair did what they did in 2003, and it keeps coming back to that. They always have an excuse. They've been doing the same thing for 1400 years. Islam is Islam. It always has an excuse. It uses wily words, and they're very crafty in the way that they advance through stealth, through taqiyya, through lies and deception, like Kitman, lying by omission. And generally, the moderate Muslim, although far greater in number, don't speak up, and they tend to take the side of radicals, or what we perceive to be the side of radicals, by their inaction. They're able to go on the streets and protest at Palestine in the thousands. We had one march that was 50,000 strong in one city. You've had them pushing things over in Tesco and getting violent with protests. We've not seen any of these. We've seen empty streets regarding when it came down to ISIS and asking them to march against ISIS and things like that. So by their lack of action and their lack of the words, really, we have to assume really that they are in support of the radical segment of their faith. I mean, let's just go on as well. Islamophobia. All we get trotted out all the time. What they do, they're very crafty Muslims. It's extremely funny the way they turn everything round. You have like after every terrorist atrocity, I don't know how they seem to be so clever in the way that they suddenly become the victims, and all these hashtags suddenly appear and portraying them the victims of what are going to be they're going to be the victims of Islamophobic violence and attacks. Well, they've yet to come up with any evidence to produce to back up their claims. The leftists say this as well. There's no evidence. Where are all these Islamophobic attacks? They might have had the odd mosque has had something thrown at it, but often you will find that the people that have done the Islamophobic attacks have an agenda and tend to be Muslims, or it tends to be an insurance job where something's burnt out, like a restaurant or halal kebab shops burnt out for money, so that they can profit from it. It's all very cunning, and often there was one case, I think in London, where a Somalian Islamic centre was burnt out. They tried to portray it, Tell Mama UK tried to portray it as Islamophobia, just after Lee Rigby, and it was found to be a Muslim that did it. There was graffiti and slogans daubed on the side of the walls, and they got cameras out and they found the evidence, found it to be a Somalian that did it. It was recent to the UK. It just shows you, doesn't it, who are the real victims. And all while this is going on, they use deception. So basically, by using this Islamophobia myth, where we can't criticise Islam, they take away the attention, divert it off themselves, take the heat off their own kitchen, and they divert it onto us. And it makes them, it takes everything, all the pressure off them from looking and analysing the problems within their own religion, within their own radicalised communities, where they've got youth that are disenfranchised, don't have anything to do, have been abandoned, haven't been integrated, don't feel British. So they look to, they're very, very easily radicalised. They don't feel like they belong to any part of this country, or they don't feel. I'm not making excuses here, but I think they're very easy to radicalise for the simple reason, a bit like gang mentality. If somebody comes along and they don't have parents, or they don't have a good upbringing, and somebody shows them some care, some love and attention, then they're going to reciprocate that, and they're going to go with their loyalty and honour is going to go with the people that are showing them that. And if Islam does that, then they're going to have all their loyalty to Islam and not to the country that they reside in. So that's down to the governments as well, governments and things like that. But they need to look within the main problem. Muslims have to sort this problem. It comes from within their own communities. Only they can address this problem, really. Christians and other people, we can't really... If we say anything, we're automatically jumped on as Islamophobic. It doesn't even exist, this Islamophobic. It's a nonsense. We've looked into it. They've never come up with any evidence, like I've said, for any of the... when just after Lee Rigby, there was a spate of supposed Islamophobic attacks, and most of them were found to be online attacks, just like somebody giving a bit of abuse out and stuff like that. Not that that's acceptable, but I'm saying that is what it tended to be. It didn't. They were saying that people, women having their burqas pulled off and stuff like that. Well, they didn't provide any evidence to show this. I didn't see any of it, to be honest. If that really had been happening, I think we'd have been seeing riots in the streets. Because I'm sorry, their mentality isn't like indigenous British. We're not like that. We don't go out rioting over the slightest thing. We don't get offended by a satirist piece, satire. We don't get offended by a cartoon of the Prophet or a cartoon of Jesus. We laugh at ourselves. It's what we do in the Western nations. We like a bit of comedy. So yeah, this is victimhood culture in Islam, and all the while it exists, it's very crafty and cunning, and it allows Islam to advance. And what we have to look at, really, the jihadists are the tip of the iceberg. You have the jihad support team below the waterline, and they are the ones that are perpetuating, pushing for special things. They want, like, their halal. They want special treatment, basically, over everybody else. They're using Taqiyya, lying. You have Trojan horses within schools. They infiltrate councils. They infiltrate political parties. They get into the media. They write pieces. They use things like racism, label people as Islamophobes, fascists, and it's all this way, these subversive, clever methods to infiltrate and to subjugate the indigenous population, and it's happening all over. If Islam really was so peaceful, well, you've only got to look at the Middle East. See what's going on out there, and not just the Middle East. We've got beautiful countries that used to be so peaceful, and now you look at Australia, they're having terrorist attacks with Lebanese Muslims shooting each other up with AK-47s on the streets in Sydney and New South Wales, the province. Every country, Canada's now got a problem. All these beautiful countries that never had problems have now got problems, and wherever Islam exists within these countries, we have problems. So what does that tell you? That tells me that Islam is the problem. Islam is the problem, the teachings from this ideology, and it's not a religion, it's a political ideology. It's a supremacist totalitarian ideology, and it's fascist in its methods. It's like Nazism. It's just two sides of the same coin. It's two sides of the same arse cheek. Two arse cheeks and the same arse. Sorry. It's exactly the same. It's like I said, there's 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, and all we hear all the time is, but if they all wanted us dead, we'd all be dead now. Well, it's like David Russell mentioned. They're stopping terror attacks every day. We only hear about the ones that get through, but every day there are terror attacks, terror threats, where they're trying to kill you and kill me. And we don't hear about them. Thank God we have such great intelligence services, and the great work they do is in keeping us in one piece. But sooner or later, one will slip through the net, and just like 7/7, and we're back to square one. But what people have got to do when we have these things, we won't come out like France and talk about it. Just be all this nonsense again about how they portray the terrorists as victims, and how they had a disenfranchised upbringing and things like that. Oh, the poor lads and stuff like that. Instead of looking at the root cause, which is the religion, the ideology, which teaches preaches hate and teaches people to do these things, they're at war with us. They are at war with us. Islam has been at war with us for 1400 years. Their ultimate goal, the pinnacle of Islam, is jihad, and their ultimate goal through achieving it is the use of jihad to achieve the ultimate goal, which is world domination. If anybody can't see that by now, Nazis in Germany, 1939, weren't a majority. Look at the damage they did. The Russian communists, look how many people they killed. They were the minority. It doesn't matter how many, let's be honest, but what the majority of Muslims do that don't speak and support with their inactions and lack of marching and words. Alright, fair enough, we've just seen a big 1 million march and there were quite a lot of Muslims there. But I still don't see enough from them. We need to see action, not words. They speak up, we need action and words. We need marches, we need them sorting people out within their own communities. I actually think now it's time for cameras to be installed in mosques, so we can see what's going on, or the suspect ones at least, the ones where people are suspected of, the main ones like Finsbury Park, where there's a known history of incitement and encouraging radical and extreme behaviour in youngsters and things. A bit like where Anjan Chowdhury radicalised Michael Adebolajo and Adebowala. We've got to get to the bottom of it all, really. I would start, not in faraway lands, I would start within the schools. Really, you're just giving them an excuse to attack us. When we attack faraway lands, it's nothing to do with us whatsoever. We shouldn't be launching drone attacks on Muslims out in these lands, killing innocent kids, and so you can understand in some ways when some Muslims do have a beef, because we're giving them the ammunition by perpetuating this, giving arms to the likes of rebels, and now ISIS are doing what they're doing. You're giving them an excuse to come back at Western nations and say, look, your corrupt governments have done. So in that way, they do have an argument. But at the same time, it's irrelevant. People say that the majority are peaceful Muslims. No doubt, I'm not labelling every Muslim. I've met some really nice Muslims in my life. I've been on holiday to places. I've been on a holiday to a Muslim country. I know not all Muslims are bad. I know that they're deeply into their religion, but at the same time, the majority, we see it in every country, and it can't be denied. They use it. The majority use it. They agitate for special concessions, and then you start to see the things they push for, stuff like halal, and stuff gets taken off the menu in schools. They just push for things constantly. I don't know whether it's because it's a sect of Wahhabism and Salafist pushed from Saudi Arabia that is the biggest sect or what, but certain sects like Ahmadis are more peaceful than other sects, and then you start to see the you've only got to look at the Sunni Shia conflicts around the world and what's going on in the Middle East. So how can we call this a religion of peace? It's a bit of a nonsense. It is a nonsense. It really is. It's insulting our intelligence. Frankly, it's any so-called religion is a political ideology. Any so-called religion that has jihad as the centerpiece of its as its pinnacle, as its highest point. How can that be a religion of peace? Even Anjan Chowdhury has admitted that. And for once, I will give him credit because he's probably actually one of the most honest Muslims out there. I think he's Shia, isn't he? So he doesn't use taqiyya. But yeah, he's doing us a good service by showing us what Islam really is. The real Islam. Now, if he wasn't speaking for Islam, he would have been. We know they can do it. They've done it for cartoons. Why is nobody going out there and sorting Anjan Chowdhury out, getting him off the streets? Because we know Muslims are capable of it. They're capable of rising up at any point and being volatile and being oppressive and marching and having their demos. So why can't they get the likes of the hate preachers, so-called hate preachers, defiling their religion off the streets? Until they do that, I'm sorry, but the jury's out on them for me, and I see it as the moderate gives the Islam a base with which to flourish and with which to spread out its wings, so that the jihadists can then carry on with doing what they're doing. and it allows them to spread by doing all this. Oh, we're a religion of peace, spreading Islamophobia, saying racism against us, so that nobody does anything, and and it allows them to have their mosques built, more mosques built, and eventually the jihadists do the violent bit. But how do we not know? But we've seen it ourselves on the internet. The moderate, the radical will behead you. The moderate wants the radical to behead you. That's what we're seeing. Disprove this theory, please. Please do. You're welcome to go ahead. Put something in the comments. We've seen it all, and until we see action, we're not going to change our opinions. And it's no wonder that these so-called far-right groups are getting bigger and bigger. Pegida is now going to form a group. The Patriotic Alliance across Europe is getting bigger and bigger and stronger every day. And until our politicians and leaders start to stand up, stop being so weak, we're on a collision course with Islam, and it's going to end in conflict. I don't want that to happen, and that's why people like myself are standing up. But we should be able to have a debate. We shouldn't be labelled fascist, Islamophobic, racist for wanting dialogue and wanting debate. It's what every free-thinking, fair, liberal-minded society should be doing. And the way Islam's going about it, it's fascist because it's wanting to shut down debate. If it was the strong word of God, the strong, one true religion in the world, it wouldn't need hordes of lefties standing up at every minute to defend it, and it wouldn't need men coming out with AK-47s and M5s shooting people on the streets of Paris and elsewhere to shut down and scare people into not speaking out. Look at Salman Rushdie. If Islam was really that peaceful, would Salman Rushdie still now have to be in hiding? I don't think so. He still has a bodyguard all these years later, after writing the satanic verses and mocking the Prophet Muhammad. So there we have it. I put my case forward to disprove it. Thank you.